Niners fans, it's about that time. It's 5:30 on the Monday. Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. And once again, it's a pleasure to be on with some of the best fans in the NFL, the faithful, the Niner Empire. It's always a pleasure to be in front of the fans. Happy Labor Day! Happy Labor Day to everyone. Hopefully, everyone's having a pretty good weekend. Hopefully, people have time to be off with their family, and hopefully, everyone's staying cool. I don't know where everyone's at, but I know in Northern Cali, it is hot. It's like at least 100 degrees outside. So hopefully, everyone's staying cool and sit back, relax, enjoy the show. I do have a special guest with me today. He goes by the name of Mose Knows. He is a YouTuber. I have all his social media links in the description. Make sure you guys check him out. But first, let's say what's good to all the people who are in the chat right now. Okay, so we got 49er Minded. What's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, man. Hopefully your Monday night is going well. Jay, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, Jay. I'll get back to you on the songs I use for the intro. I'll get back to you on that. He says, what's good? Jay says, we cut 49er legend Dante Johnson. Yes, we did, in order to have room for newly acquired Josh Norman. And let's say, what's good to Debbie Ryan? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. She says, greeting my brothers. Hey, faithful. What's good to the sports star? And what's good to 49ers Lakers for life? As I said before, hopefully everyone's having a great Labor Day weekend. Now let's get into the special guest we have for today. He goes by the name of Mose Knows. He has an excellent YouTube series where he talks about every NFL team. He calls it the Checkup. It's an excellent series. Make sure you guys check out his series. Also, he did a checkup series on the Detroit Lions. You know, their free agents, draft, all that. Excellent series. And of course, we're playing the Detroit Lions on Sunday. So it's a great series, great episode, and very insightful information. Now let's bring on the man, no other than Mose Knows. How's it going, man? What's good?
What's good? I tried to give it my best impression, but what's going on, man? What's going on, Jay? How you doing? Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. Like I said before, I've seen your videos, very insightful. I feel like I am learning as well as being entertained by your content. That's A+ material right there. So I'm surprised you only have, I think you got like 360 subscribers.
368, yeah.
368. How long have you been doing YouTube?
I just started in February of this year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's something that I wanted to do, but with current situation, or not current, but situations in the past where I just didn't have time to focus on it and put the time and attention that I really need to put into it. But this year, especially with the pandemic and just being home, if you're going to start something, don't wait. If you have the means to do it. And that's what I did. So I just started with one video. And then the idea started flowing as I just started talking to different people and just kind of getting insight from them. And it blossomed into what it is now. And, I got some things planned for the future. So just looking forward to continuing this journey of content creation.
Absolutely. And I got to say, what's good to everybody watching on Jay and the Bay Facebook page and also Jay and the Bay YouTube channel. And yeah, you mentioned, the pandemic. Obviously, everyone was affected and are still affected of that the last 18 months. I just started my YouTube journey about a year ago, last August. So it's been an incredible journey. And as you say, we now have time to do that. And I can tell by watching your videos, you have a passion. And I think that's what people will learn to like about your channel and also the knowledge that you bring. But yeah, I'm happy that you're on with me today. And that's great. You started your journey in February and just keep grinding. You're going to continue to get more subscribers. And I'm looking forward to more of your content. And you said you started in February. And also, I got to say congratulations as well on the birth of your fourth child, man. That's incredible. I only got two, so I got to catch up to you, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been a beautiful time in my household right now. Mom is home healthy, baby is home healthy. My other three kids are elated, and they can't stay out of the baby's face. So we trying to temper their. They want to touch and kiss and hug, and the baby already is giving them the side eye. Like, wait a minute, y'all too close. Y'all gotta back up. But it's a beautiful time in the Mose Knows household right now.
Hey, that's children are a blessing, man. I know there's not going to be much sleep for you in the next 6 months, but it's definitely a blessing, man. Because I have a 3-month-old, so I definitely know how you feel, and definitely children are a blessing, man. But we have to talk about the latest 49ers news that just popped up. Of course, it's the signing of cornerback Josh Norman. What are your initial thoughts on the Niners signing, cornerback Josh Norman?
My initial thoughts was this signing came a few years too late. Josh Norman has been a player that I've admired from afar, just the way he plays the game, his dog mentality, the tenacity. When he was having issues in Carolina, I thought that would have been a good opportunity for us to swoop in and kind of get him then. We needed cornerback help at that time. We obviously didn't make that happen. He went to Washington, spent some time in Buffalo. So I think it is a few years too late, but I think it is a good signing as far as depth. I think he brings a veteran presence to, that cornerback room to add with a player like Jason Verrett, who can just help the young guys with what he's been able to see in this league. When you look at the number of wide receivers and the caliber of wide receivers, I should say, that he's went up against, he's seen some really good guys. He's had some battles with some really good wide receivers. He's seen a lot of offensive schemes. He's seen a lot of formations, plays, audibles, motions, all the things you can name. So I think his insight from being a professional and playing at a high level, I think can only be a benefit to this group. Now, hopefully we don't have to see him, play, 10 or 12 or 15 games, but I think he would be okay in a situation where if he had to step in on that basis, he'd do all right in this, especially in this defense.
Yeah. And I got to say, what's good to Niner faithful? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And I like the Josh Norman signing. You look after Verrett, Mosley, and Kwan. Those are, 3 starters. Then you have the 2 rookies. And I think we had Dante Johnson. He got cut. And I think we have one more veteran corner. His name is escaping me. Maybe Mose or the chat can help me, but I think we have one more veteran corner.
I think it's what's his name? D Virgin, or is he a safety?
Yeah, D Virgin. Yeah, and we just picked him up. Yeah, so I like Josh Norman. Obviously, you mentioned he is a veteran. He's seen it all. He's faced some of the best wide receivers easily of the last decade, and I like him to, as you mentioned, not start too many games. But if Verrett or Mosley go down, Josh Norman can step in, and I think he could be a solid corner. He's no longer in the prime of his career, but I think he could step in and be, veteran presence. I think he'll be good in zone coverage. And I love to say a secondary's best friend, is the pass rush. If the Niners can get after the quarterback, it makes the secondary's job much easier. They don't have to cover as long. And I think that'll benefit the entire defense, linebackers, corners, safeties. So I think it's a solid move. I think it was a move that the Niners needed to make because, I don't know if we want to start a rookie, opposite of Verrett or Mosley if we have to. We might want to lean on that veteran like Josh Norman, who's done it all. I think that would be a great situation to put Josh Norman in. And shout out Debbie. I appreciate you tuning in the stream. Damian Lee, what's good? Looks like you have another subscriber, Mose Knows, and Damian Lee. He says he's subscriber number 369.
Appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Debbie says, come on, faithful. We really need to get Moses' followers numbers up for real. Share his info, y'all. And for those that are just tuning in, make sure you drop a like for the video. Let YouTube and I know that you're enjoying the stream. Also, check out Mose Knows, all his social media links. He's got, Facebook, he's got IG, Twitter, YouTube. All that is in the description of the video. Feel free to subscribe and follow Mose Knows. Very talented and very knowledgeable YouTuber. I enjoy watching him.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the love. Let me give a quick shout out to Miss Deb, though. Everybody who has met Miss Deb loves Miss Deb. I haven't had a chance to meet Miss Deb in person, but I can't wait until I do. Miss Deb is on everybody's channel. She shows love to anybody who does content revolving football, particularly the 49ers. She's always showing up. She's always showing love. She's always supporting everybody. You can feel the genuine love that comes from Miss Deb in every chat that she's in. So for her to write this, I really, really appreciate it. I can't wait to meet you in person, Miss Deb. Thank you so much from me, and I'm sure I can speak for everybody in the 49ers content creation community. Thank you for all of your love, all of your support. It doesn't go unnoticed. It doesn't go unrecognized. We really, really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And what I've noticed in my last year of being a content creator and talking about specifically the 49ers, we are a community of content creators. There are a lot of, I don't want to start naming names, I don't want to forget anyone, but you guys know who you are out there. We've kind of come up within the last year or so together. All bring something different to the table, but we all support each other, and for the most part, it's been a positive environment. So that's always good. And I gotta say, what's good to J.A. Aguayo 56. He said, "Hey Jay and the Bay, how's it going? I hope everyone is having a great Labor Day." Same to you, J.A. Aguayo. Same to you, man. And so I have to first start about. We talked about Josh Norman. And from last year, there were definitely some areas of need for the 49ers. I think John Lynch did a great job in addressing those needs via the draft and free agency. But after the 53-man roster has been set, what do you think, if there is any, what do you think is the 49ers' weakest position group from today going forward?
This is a tough one because obviously because of our bias, I don't want to say we have a weak position group. And there's not too many position groups. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one. But as I was thinking about it, the position group that I would look to as being the weakest, I want to say the wide receiver group. And here's why. One, I think it's consistency with injuries. Debo seems to always have the little minor knick-knack injuries. Nothing major, but it's always a hamstring here, a toe injury there, ankle injury here. Brandon Ayuk, maybe not as much, but he started last year, with the hamstring injury that, hampered, the beginning of his rookie season. We all know the injury history with Jalen Hurd. He hasn't played a regular season game yet. We don't know how much we're going to get out of him. And then, we have Trent Sherfield. There's no injury history there. But, this is his first year with the 49ers in this offense. And while he's played well during the offseason and training camp and preseason, he's coming into a bigger role. We brought him in to be more of a special teams player, and he actually proved that he's more valuable than that he can add value as a wide receiver. So much so that, we've listed Brandon Ayuk as our punt returner. And I think who's kick return, Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, I would say either Elijah Mitchell, maybe Travis Benjamin if he gets brought up to the 53-man active roster. Shanahan really hasn't said. I don't know about you, but I hope it's not Brandon Ayuk. I hope not.
Yeah, I saw something posted that had Brandon Ayuk listed as the punt returner. So, then you add that, we have our, one of our top two receivers on punt return. You're adding more situations where, he could possibly get injured. And now, obviously, you don't want to think that way. But I think with the injury history of our top guys and then the unproven nature of a Jawan Jennings and a Trent Sherfield, you have a situation where, can these guys really step up and be consistent and perform where, while George Kittle being our top pass catcher isn't a problem, I'd like to see Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel be the top receiver from this team from a catches and a yard standpoint.
Yeah, and I don't want to see Brandon in the kick return or punt return game. I think he's too important on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, he's going to be used in nearly 99% of the offensive snaps. If he goes down, then you're left with Deebo, who, as you mentioned, and we've seen, he has these ticky-tack injuries. And speaking of Ayuk, he's battling a hamstring injury right now, which is not severe. That's what Shanahan says. But I believe he's been kept out of practice. I don't know about today, but I know a few days ago he was kept out of practice as a precautionary. But hamstring injuries, they usually don't get better. They tend to linger because he's going to be using his hamstring a lot when he's on the field. So I definitely don't want to put Brandon in a situation where he could re-aggravate that injury on special teams. Obviously, special teams is very important. It's a third. You got the special teams, defense, offense, very important. But how about we put Elijah Mitchell back there, or Trent Sherfield, or maybe a different corner, maybe Ambry Thomas. For me, anyone but the Ayuk show. I just don't want to see him back there, man. Do you have a preference for him? Do you want to see him back there, or do you think we shouldn't? What do you think?
No, I don't want to see him back there. I want to see Brandon Ayuk take over as wide receiver number one. Right. I think he's more than capable to do it. More than capable to do it. I think he has the speed to do it. I think he's a great route runner. I think he has great hands. I want to see him be more of a top 15, top 10 wide receiver, number one go-to target in this offense where, we're focused on him as being a pass catcher and defenses are double teaming him, shading coverages his way because, he's a major threat in our offensive scheme. I don't want to, as much as he wants to do it, as much as he thinks he's capable, and I think he is capable because of his skill set, I don't want to see him back there putting himself in situations that can take away from him being, wide receiver number one for this team. And a quick story about the hamstrings that linger. I work in an athletics department. So I was in one of our training facilities and the football team was working out. And a couple of guys, they were doing like 40-yard sprints and they were going back and forth. So me, I'm thinking, and I'm 33. I'll be 34 in December. I still think I'm a young cat. So I'm seeing these little college kids. I'm like, man, I could beat y'all in the foot race. Which one? I was like, out of the three of y'all, who's the slowest? I said, I'm an old man, so give me the slowest one out of y'all three. So they picked whoever the slowest was, and I lined up the racing. And I was going. And if you ask his team was, yo, he had you in the first 15. But soon as I hit that 20 and tried to get full stride, my hamstring was like, sit your old behind down. And I was like, do I let my pride get the best of me and try to pull this out? Or do I just pull up a little bit and just take this L? So I was like, let me just take this loss. I ain't want, because listen, if I would have tried to pull that out and my hamstring really went, and then I would have fell and been rolling down the lane, it would have been more embarrassing than just taking the L. So I was like, let me just take the loss, let the little 17-year-old have his day. He got me today. But my hamstring was like, nah, brother, this not what you do no more.
That's funny because and not only does Ayuk is he battling a hamstring, but Emmanuel Mosley as well. He's battling a hamstring as well. So, and we spoke about Josh Norman. I have a feeling he could play if he's on the team for the entire season. I feel like he's going to play, a few games and he could start. Of course, I wish that we stay healthy, but it's football. It's a contact sport. Injuries happen. But yeah, that's a funny story about about you thinking you still got it. I think I'm the same age as you. I'm 33 as well, so okay. I feel where you're coming from for sure. I gotta say, what's good, Travis Berg Jr. Thanks for tuning in to the stream. He says there's a Lions fan in CG stream saying the Lions are going to beat the Niners 42-3.
Wow.
Well, there's a reason why we play the games. And hey, and I appreciate that Lions fan. They think highly of their team. And let's see what
stand behind that bold prediction.
Stand behind that, and let's see what they say. 1:00 Pacific time on Sunday. Let's see what they say then. Tanya, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream. Hopefully you're having a great Labor Day weekend. And so we talked about the weakest position group. Now, what do you think is the 49ers' strongest position group?
Now I felt like this was a setup question. And I feel like the easiest position group to go with is the defensive line. Mm-hmm. Me personally, when playing football, I was a defensive lineman. I played tackle. I played end. So I would never turn my back on my brothers. But if I could go a different route, I would say the strongest group on this team might be the running backs. And there's a lot of strong groups. I think the linebackers are a strong group. Anytime you have a team captain and the defensive leader with the green dot in your position group, that's a strong group. But I'm gonna go with the running backs, and I think with the versatility that we have now, with the way Kyle likes to run the football, we know the Mostert Roddy brings the speed. Then we got Trey Sermon, who is our big bruiser. We got JaMycal Hasty, who brings the speed and the agility. We have Elijah Mitchell, who brings speed and power. Like our running back room is insane right now. I love the running backs that we have, all the different styles and what they're able to do in this system. If they all can stay healthy, and if this offensive line can stay healthy, I think that only benefits Jimmy Garoppolo, who's up and down with his quarterback play. I think it only benefits a Trey Lance if he has to come in, a young quarterback, a rookie coming in, playing in the NFL after, not playing, most or if at all last year. He only played the one game. So I think a solid running game can only benefit our quarterback situation. And I think this running back room right now is on pace to do some really, really special things this season.
I agree. And we can't forget about Jeff Wilson Jr., who's kind of
when he comes back, I mean, who you going to sit? You got to cut somebody. Yeah. You going to put Elijah Mitchell or JaMycal Hasty on the practice squad. So I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. comes back. He's another big bruiser. Our red zone back. And then listen, you can't forget about Juice. You put Juice with the backs. He's a fullback, but he's more of a utility player, fullback, wide receiver, tight end. If you need him to play offensive lineman on the end, Juice does it all. He lead blocks. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. So if you look at that group as a whole, including Juice, man, I'm excited about what they can do, especially if they stay healthy.
Yeah, and Jeff Wilson Jr., he had the torn meniscus, and I think he should be back, mid-November at the latest, I believe. I guess we'll see. But yeah, he's going to, provide fresh legs. He's kind of a mix of all the running backs. He's got power. He's got speed. He's really made the most of his opportunity, and I'm glad to see that he'll be back. And that'll be an interesting decision for Shanahan to make. It seems like it's either going to be either Hasty or Mitchell, who probably be reverted to the practice squad, I would imagine. And it's unfortunate. I don't know how you feel about Wayne Gallman. I was disappointed we weren't able to keep Wayne Gallman. I thought he was, a solid back. He was a veteran. And I think that just speaks to the amount of talent, as you mentioned, that we have in the running back room. What were your thoughts on Wayne Gallman? Were you surprised he didn't make the roster?
No, I wasn't surprised. I knew Mostert was going to make the roster. I knew Trey Sermon was going to make the roster. What I saw from JaMycal Hasty last year, and then what he showed us this year in the preseason, I didn't want that guy to get away. He's so explosive when he touches the football. He has a knack for finding the hole. He has a knack for creating space, breaking tackles. Although he's a smaller running back, he does run with a little bit of power, and he's so elusive and shifty. Like I said, he can create that space and get more yards when he needs to. And then everything I've been hearing about Elijah Mitchell, he's like a little bowling ball out there, man. He's got 4.3 speed, but he's got quads like, Saquon Barkley. So, he's got the speed, and then he hits you with that size, like something hitting you that fast. Like, listen, I'll tell you this, on the football field, I wasn't scared of nobody, but me right now, like me, 33-year-old me, I don't want to get hit by that dude running 4.3 at me. No way. So, somebody like that, I wanted to see him in this offense as well. So like you said, the talent that we had, I think, is just so immense that, what Wayne Gallman offers, like, it's redundant to what we already have on the roster with the backs that we have. So that one, that cut, I wasn't too upset about.
I can dig it. And another strong position you mentioned at first was a defensive line. And I don't remember the last time the 49ers had 11 defensive linemen, on the active roster. And also not including Jordan Willis, who's suspended for the first 6 weeks. He had a pretty good preseason. He had a sack for a safety. So I'm definitely looking forward to him coming back. That'll be week 7, I think, against the Colts. So that should be interesting to see who gets reverted back to the practice squad. But yeah, you look at the defensive line, 11 defensive linemen. Obviously, it's headlined by Bosa and Ford, and we actually have 2 healthy players in Ford and Bosa. They're coming back from, major injuries. I would imagine their snap counts will be, minimum, maybe 15, 20 snaps the first game or even the first month of the season per game. And I think that's another reason why the 49ers, have as many defensive linemen. I think Lynch did an excellent job with adding Hurst, Arden Key, bringing back DJ Jones. You still have Kinlaw, Armstead, Contavious Street, Givens. The list goes on. Zach Kerr. So that's a deep group as well that you had mentioned, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them eat and get sacks and stuff to run because I think that will be that's the part of the defense that we have the most depth in. And I think if they're excelling, if we have a few Pro Bowlers on the defensive line, I think this could return to a top 5 defense. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, going through my checkup series, I think the only team that has a defensive line as deep as ours is the Buffalo Bills. If you look at the second string defensive line for the Buffalo Bills, if that was your first string defensive line, you wouldn't be upset. If that was your first string defensive line, you would still think that the Buffalo Bills would be a top 10 defense in the NFL. That's how deep their defensive line are. And our defensive line, while theirs goes 8 deep, ours is 11, 12 deep. So just imagine the rotation that those guys are going to have. I agree. I think we'll see more Bosa than we see Ford. But I think both of them will be on a type of a pitch count. And I'm okay with that because I'm really excited. I've been excited since we signed him. I'm excited to see Arden Key as a pass rusher in this scheme. I was really, really high on him in his draft year when he came out. So, to see him in a scheme that kind of benefits his style of play on a defensive line where he's not the focal point, I think that can only benefit him. Samson Ebukam, the way he rushed in the preseason, he plays with such a relentless nature. Like his motor is nonstop. So seeing him on that defensive line as well, that rotation in the middle with Armstead and Kinlaw and Hurst and Kerr and DJ Jones, man, to see them boys eat. And I think what's going to be satisfying for me, especially as a defensive lineman myself, is seeing how frustrated the offensive line is that they can't stop this front. That it's like 95s out here, now 97s out here, now 99s out here, now 55s out here, and then 56, and then 94. Like there's so many different numbers. You can't account for who's what. And then they switch them around. They're not always in the same position at the same time. Sometimes they line up in the wide 9. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes guys who usually have their hand in the dirt are standing up. And you're like, what's happening here? So to see the confusion and the frustration on some of these offensive line faces, that's going to be music to my ears to be able to see that and to see these guys firing on all cylinders. And that's only going to free up our linebacker core to just fly to the ball. That's going to free up guys like Jimmy Ward and Jaquanski Tart to fly to the ball and man that back end. Our corners are not going to have to cover for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds because the quarterback is not going to have that much time. So, I went with the running backs, but, man, this defensive line, again, health is going to be a big key. But if we can stay healthy, look out.
I totally agree. And with the amount of defensive linemen we have, we can keep guys fresh by, bringing in reserves off the bench, giving guys a rest, and that'll continue that pass rush and continue to confuse and frustrate the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. So I can't wait for it. I gotta say, what's good to Amath? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. The first time I've seen you on. I appreciate you give the video a like. Feel free to subscribe as well to Jay in the Bay. Looks like you got some fans in here. Mose Knows. Jay Aguayo says, hi, Mose Knows. Nice to hear from you. He also says he will follow you definitely. So, absolutely.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Niner Sickness. What's good? Appreciate you coming through the stream. He says, hello, Faithful and Jay in the Bay. Also, he says hello to Mose Knows. What's good? KD. Appreciate you joining the stream. He says hello, Jay in the Bay and at Mose Knows. So you're getting some love in the chat. That's always good to hear. Now, we have to talk about one of the most talked about, debated receivers on this team. You may have heard of him. He hasn't played in the last 2 years.
I like how you did that there, though. You may have heard of him. I like how you did that. That was smooth. I like that.
Yeah. Jalen Hurd. I mean, he hasn't played the last 2 years. He was a 3rd round pick. Did Jalen Hurd, in your opinion, do enough to deserve a roster spot this year?
Let me get to my mic so everybody can hear me clearly. Absolutely not. The only reason why he's still on this roster is potential. Yeah. And I think added to that, another reason why he's still on this roster is Kyle doesn't want to have egg on his face, because a lot of people feel like taking Jalen Hurd when he did was a reach. So I think you have those two things. If you can say anything, this team is definitely faithful, for lack of a better term, with the players that they draft. They're definitely consistent, and they definitely, give more than, 1, 2, or 3 chances to the players that they really love. We saw that with Jerick McKinnon. He tears his ACL. Obviously, that's not something that he can control. But then the next year he had a setback, was still on the roster. And then, last year he played a little bit, but he just wasn't the same player after the injury. But we kept him on the roster for all that time. This regime, this head coach, they are definitely loyal to the players that they love and that they see potential in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, that does allow the players that you bring into your team, a sense of confidence that they can have in you as their coach, that you're not just going to toss them to the wind at one bad move or at one injury. I think there is a fine line that we have to tread. I would hope that after this season, if Jalen Hurd shows that he's continued to be injured and he's not available to this team, that we then decide to move on at that point. I think he's had, more than enough chances to this point, but absolutely not. I don't think he did enough during this, off-season training camp and preseason to make this team. But with his potential and what Kyle can see in him and how to use him in his offense, weighed more than what a consistently healthy guy could bring.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to play devil's advocate a little bit. I know, a lot of fans are through with Hurd, and I just wanted to mention that, when the Niners draft players, it's not like they're just picking the name out of the hat. They have hours and hours of research they do on pretty much every player that's available to be drafted. And, a 3rd round pick, that's a high pick to take a player. And I know he's been injured, 2 straight years, and he hasn't been able to stay consistently healthy. And I will admit, Shanahan does have an ego. He wants to say, hey, I was right about this guy. There's a reason why we picked him 3rd overall. But as you mentioned, he's here because of potential. But I think right now he is, on the end of the depth chart at the wide receiver position. I think he's at the 6th spot right now. But, Shanahan and Lynch have done hours and hours of research, as I have mentioned. They've picked Hurd over, hundreds and hundreds of players they could have picked in the third round. They want to see this thing through. And fortunately, he played in the preseason game. It wasn't great. He dropped some balls. He's rusty, though. He hasn't played against another team in 2 years. I wouldn't have been upset if we put him on the PUP list for the first 6 weeks, let him train, let him consistently practice every day, because you kind of have to do that if you're in the NFL or any professional sport. You can't just show up to the game and play. You got to practice every day. And that's something that he hasn't been able to do in training camp. But I think that's warranted because he's coming off a torn ACL. Bosa hasn't practiced every day. I'm okay with her doing that. So I would have liked if we put on the PUP list first 6 weeks, have him practice every day, evaluate him every week, and then after the first 6 weeks, let's see how he is. Can he make an impact on the team? Yes, no. If he can't, then I guess you would just cut him at that point. But I'm eager to see what Hurd can do in the regular season. I think he will get some snaps because I would love to believe that this 49ers receiving core is going to stay healthy. But, honestly, I would be shocked by that. But did he deserve a roster spot? Probably not. But fortunately for Hurd, Richie James injured, he got cut. River Craycraft, I think he's on the practice squad now. Simba Webster, I liked him as a special teamer. I was disappointed we couldn't keep him. But I like Jennings. I like Sherfield. Sanu, he's solid. He's a veteran presence. He knows Shanahan's offense. But hopefully Hurd can prove to people himself, the 49ers organization, that he can be a productive player and a consistent player on this roster. That's all I can really, hope for Hurd at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that Hurd can get over the Hurd and stay healthy. One of the things I love about football players, and I think, because I know this from myself when I played, I love players who play with a controlled aggression. Like Steve Smith, one of my favorite players, just because he was such a dog. And he lets you know that, if you're lined up across from me today, you're going to cry when you go home. After this game, you might not want to play football anymore because I'm going to do you that dirty. And again, not to compare Jalen Hurd to Steve Smith, but I think he's one of those players where he's very quiet, don't say much on the field, but he lets you know by his play. He's very aggressive. When he makes a play, if you're chirping, he's going to be in your face and tell you to shut up because I just embarrassed you and I'm going to embarrass you again. He imposes his will. So if he can stay healthy, I mean, the sky is the limit for him in this offense. Kyle is going to find ways to scheme him open, to give him the ball. I don't want to see him take a lot of jet sweeps because, that's kind of taking him back to, his running back days. And we're trying to remove him from being a running back and let him be more of a wide receiver. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. So I want to see him use that size and use that length, to body, some smaller corners and smaller, DBs or even the bigger DBs. Use his height, use his size, box somebody out, use his aggression, go up, catch the ball at the high point, embarrass some people, help us move the chains on third down, be another red zone target, so we're not just forcing the ball into Ayuk or Kittle. Now we got, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, and Hurd on the field inside the 20. You don't know where the ball's going or how, the scheme is going to be used to get somebody open or to move the ball into the end zone. So, yeah, I'm hoping that he can stay healthy because when we've seen it with Trey Lance, we've seen it with Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, we've seen it with George Kittle. When Kyle has a plan for you and he's excited about that plan, 9 times out of 10, it works. You just have to be available for him to implement it and have it work. So I'm hoping that he can stay healthy for, the entirety of the season.
Yeah, and I appreciate your thoughts. And as you mentioned, 6'5". I mean, how can we not use him in the red zone? You run a fade route, quick slant. I don't care. Use your body to get open, catch the ball with your hands. And that sounds like a touchdown to me. So I appreciate everyone's comments in the chat. Niner Gang Podcast, what's good? He says he's been sitting, wasting time and money and a roster spot. You are absolutely right that wasted time and money. Now, roster spot, I'm not too sure because he's still on the roster. He's still on the 53-man active roster. Technically, he's healthy. And let's see week 1. Let's see what he does. Mark, what's good? Love your avatar. Thanks for tuning into the stream. He says Jalen Hurd is done, period. I have to disagree. He's on the roster. He's technically can contribute to the team. Let's see what happens week 1.
And I mean, if we really look at it,
yeah,
this is the furthest that he's made it in his first 2 years.
Yes.
This is the furthest that he's come, I believe, in his first 2 years in the league. So let's just see if he's able to stack some consistency here. Right. So,
right. In I think it was 2019 or was it 2018, he had the 2-touchdown preseason game against the Cowboys. And then after that, he's basically been hurt the next 2 years. So now he played in a preseason game against the Raiders. Let's see it through. I can't say he's done because he's still wearing the red and gold. And I know people are in a wait and see approach, and I respect that. I'm in that same boat. I want to see him be productive and be consistent. And Shanahan has given him that opportunity. But I got to say, what's good to Blue True? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And also I appreciate that contribution to Jay and the Bay YouTube channel. They say, great stream, Jay and the Bay and Mose Knows. And it's great to see the ladies in the chat, Miss Debbie, Miss Tanya, and Miss Kim. Salute. Absolutely. I appreciate everyone in the chat, specifically the ladies. And I appreciate their thoughts and contributions to the stream. But I appreciate everyone's perspective on Jalen Hurd. We'll just have to wait and see it through. Niner Faithful had a question. He says, Jay and Mose, besides Trent, who do you see being Trey's favorite target when he eventually becomes our starter?
I mean, if you take a look at, the photos that they just put out, both of them look pretty drippy. I think him and Debo might have a connection. I think they're building a strong friendship and bond off the field, and that can only translate, to on the field. But I think if Trey is our starter with the way that he plays the game, I think he's going to have chemistry with all of our guys. I think he's going to build chemistry with Kittle. I think he's going to build chemistry with Debo, with Ayuk, with Trent Sherfield. And I think each one of those relationships is going to have something that's unique about it that translates to how they play on the field. And that communication, both collectively as quarterback receivers and individually, Trey with each one, is only going to benefit the product on the field. So I think if I had to go with one person, I think it would be Debo. But I think he's going to build a rapport with all the receivers, and it's going to be really, really good.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think, Debo is a great option. I think he's going to definitely develop a rapport with Kittle. I don't see why he can't. Best tight end in the NFL. And I think Ayuk, Debo, Trent, Kittle, those are obviously our 4 best receiving options. I think he'll develop the chemistry with them once he's able to get that starting job. We'll definitely talk about that later on in the segment, whether, should Trey start, what game will he start? We'll definitely get into that. But let's talk about, were there any surprise players for you who didn't make the active roster?
I'll give you 2, one on offense, one on defense. Yeah, Sweet. You mentioned this one guy earlier. I was surprised that Simba Webster didn't make it. I think with the way he came in and the way he played in the preseason games and what he was able to show us, the explosiveness, not only in the return game, but when we used him on offense as well, his speed and his elusiveness, it just opens up the field. So having another weapon like that, I think, it would have only been beneficial. We kept 6 receivers. Looking at the roster and how it shook out, I don't think you could take anybody else away to make room for a 7th receiver. We just talked about Jalen Hurd. Did he deserve a spot? Obviously, because he's been here and because of his potential, Jalen Hurd got the nod over Simba Webster. But I really wanted to see Simba Webster on this team. That way, Brandon Ayuk doesn't have to, be on punt return. And then on kick return, we could have Elijah Mitchell and Simba Webster back there, or Simba Webster and Ambry Thomas. And, whatever side of, the ball the field goes to, we have two really good returners when it comes to kick return. So I was surprised by that one. I wanted to see him make this roster just because of how explosive he is. And on the defensive side of the ball, man, I was really, really pulling for Clinton Dix to make this team. I loved him coming out of Alabama. I loved him when he was in Green Bay. Loved him when he was in Chicago. The past couple of years been, injury. It's been some injury concerns, and he kind of fell off a little bit. But he came into this camp ready to play, ready to prove that, he can still, be a contributor on defense. While his interception wasn't against, a starting unit, it still shows that, he has the ability to catch the ball. He has the ability to, sit back in coverage, read the field, scan the field, put himself in the best position to get in between the ball and the receiver and make a play. I think if he was on this roster earlier, if he was on the roster the same time Tavonne Wilson was on this roster, I think gets the nod over Tavonne Wilson, especially since Wilson has been, a little bit nicked up as of late. So I think because he came later and, Tavonne Wilson has been playing well, DeMeco Ryans has been raving about him. I think he got the nod, but I really, really wanted to see make this team.
Yeah, you took the names that I was definitely going to choose. I definitely wanted to see Simba Webster. I think he could be a great special teams guy, and also he could be good in those end arounds, those jet sweeps and things like that. I would have even said if we had to take off a defensive lineman, to add Simba Webster. Also, it gives us more depth in their wide receiver room that I think we'll definitely need. But shout out to Corey Davis. He says, Mose Knows. Suit up and you can be the 12th defensive lineman.
I got you.
Still got it.
I got you. I can give you a couple snaps.
That's funny. I appreciate you, KD. And on defense, I wanted to keep he's been a winner. Obviously at Alabama, national championship, first round pick by the Packers. He's not that elite player that he once was, but I think he had an interception in the preseason. It just seems like he's a veteran who's made big plays, who's had interceptions. We really haven't had, I love Jimmy. I love Jaquiski Tartt, but we really haven't had a safety who was a ball hawk. And I think, I think could have been that player for us. I think he's still a free agent. I don't think he's been signed yet because he feels like he's a starter. And he doesn't want to get on the practice squad. And I know the Niners and him are in communication, but they would only be able to bring him back on the practice squad now. But hopefully, for my selfish reasons, doesn't get picked up, and maybe the Niners can pick him up a few days before the season starts. But I think he's definitely still a starter in this league. And I'm kind of surprised he's still, not on a team. I gotta say, what's good to It's Golden Grizz YouTube. He says, what's up, Jay? Happy Labor Day. Niner Game Podcast also says, what's good to Mose and Jay in the Bay.
My brother, what's good?
Corey Davis says, happy Labor Day, everyone. And I hope you all had a wonderful day. For those that are just tuning in, you're wondering, who is Jay in the Bay? Who is Mose Knows? Obviously, we both have our own YouTube channels. Mose Knows information, all his social media platforms are in the link in the descriptions. Make sure you guys check out Mose Knows and subscribe to Jay in the Bay, of course, if this is your first time here. And I hope that you guys are enjoying the stream. Tanya, you got another fan, Mose Knows. She says, Mose Knows, I'm going to support and follow you. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Tanya. Thank you very much.
And Niner Gang, to pick up on what we both mentioned, he said that Kyle has an ego. He can't be wrong. You know how it goes. Yeah, I mean, he's the head man. He doesn't want to admit that he made a mistake, and I think we'll find that out with Hurd. I'm sure most people will say yes, that was a mistake. There are other receivers in that draft class who have been better and have been healthy, but we have to live with who we got. Niner Game Podcast also says it kills me that we love reclamation projects and injury-prone players. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Mose?
I don't. Dion, that's my brother. I don't agree with the reclamation projects part. Just because we haven't had too many players that we needed to restore from past situations. I think Kyle just find guys who, fits his scheme best. And especially when you come to a new team as he did, when he first started with the 49ers and, the roster was decimated and he literally had to build from scratch. Like we were just picking up players off the street so we can fill the 53-man roster. Now we're at a point where he's making tough decisions about who to cut and who to keep. So as far as the injury-prone players, I do agree on that part. I don't know if it's just – I don't want to say that it's a dark cloud over the organization right now. But, our injury history over the past couple of years has been something that has been unusual. And while you can't just cut a player because he gets injured all the time, I think the consistency at which our players get injured, but then the consistency at which we hold on to them. And I mean, we have two great examples in Jalen Hurd and Jerick McKinnon, and players who, consistently get injured, haven't been available for, 2 seasons in a row, but are still on this team because, Kyle thinks he can get something out of them. I think Kyle needs to take a look at that. As far as, looking at the strength and conditioning and teams and the coaches and all that, that's good. But I think he needs to take a look at his approach. And I understand you want to be loyal to the players, but, we all know the best ability is availability. And the players have to be available to play. So don't hold on to guys for too long. I think that's how the New England Patriots were successful. They know when to let guys go, whether they were injury prone or whether they were at the end of their rope. So I think, he needs to find a better balance, I should say, of when to hold on to a player because of his potential or when to just let him go because, he's not available to us.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think a lot goes into a decision of when to cut a player. Obviously, money, that's a big issue. I think that's part of the reason why D Ford is still on the team, honestly. I mean, I know he's looking good right now, but thankfully he restructured his contract in the offseason, but we owe D Ford a lot of money, and that's part of the reason why he's still on the team. Obviously, it depends on how much do we have invested in the player. Jalen Hurd, a 3rd-round pick. I believe he's still under contract probably for 2 more years, including this one. So we still have him under contract. Shanahan obviously saw something in Hurd. That's why he's still on the team. And, we just got to hope he can be productive. But I appreciate, Niner Game podcast comments. I got to say, what's good? Minister Brandon, I appreciate that $2 super chat. He says, Mose knows, but Jay in the Bay knows best. Blessings. Okay, I appreciate.
Listen, he's not on my show. I'm on his show, so I agree with you. I appreciate that, man. Hey, man, Dion trying to get me in trouble in the chat. He talking about some Moses dope. Everyone congratulate my guy. He just had 2 beautiful babies. I had 1. I did not have 2.
Let's set the record straight.
You talk about 2. If my wife is watching this, babe, I did not have another baby somewhere. Yeah. Don't listen to Dion. He's trying to get me in trouble. I don't know what he's talking about. It was just me and you and our baby girl in the hospital. I don't know where this other baby came from, but it ain't mine.
Thank you, Mose Knows, for setting the record straight on that, man. That's pretty good. Now, I didn't ask you this pre-show, but were there any players that you were surprised who made the active roster? Besides Jalen Hurd?
Tom Compton. Why?
Because he's Shanahan's guy.
So maybe I shouldn't have been surprised at that, but it's like, come on, man. We don't need that guy.
He knows the system. He's Shanahan's guy. He could play multiple positions along the offensive line. I guess he's considered an upgrade over Colton McKivitz, right? I mean, I guess he's a veteran. He's got that on his side.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I didn't like seeing that name come across my list. No.
Yeah. What about on the defensive side? Anyone surprising that?
I'll give you a name. It wasn't a surprise because I figured that he was going to make the team. But the way everybody else was talking, it didn't put doubt in my mind, but it made me think maybe I'm seeing it wrong. But I was surprised and happy that Marcel Harris made the team. I love how Marcel Harris plays. Is he a ball hawk coverage safety? Absolutely not. But in this game, you need those who can cover and you need those who can play run support. Now, it's a benefit if you can find somebody who can do both. It's a benefit if you can have somebody like a Troy Polamalu. He's a superstar. It's a benefit if you can have a Sean Taylor, rest in peace, a Brian Dawkins, a Ed Reed, a Ronnie Lott, who can play coverage and run. Those are your superstars. So we know, no disrespect to him, Marcel Harris is not a superstar, but he's great at reading his keys, shooting his shot, and making the tackle. Now, sometimes he's a little bit over aggressive and he can miss some. He missed one in preseason that I was like, this is why you might get cut. But I love what he brings. I talked about that tenacity. For me, playing football is definitely about a mindset. You got to have the right mindset to play this game and to play at a high level, especially in the NFL. And I think Marcel Harris has that. So to see him make the transition from safety to linebacker and still be able to make this team, I think it's only going to benefit this group, this defense. And then he has the versatility. If he does need to go back and play safety, which I don't think he will, because, we got Tart, we got Ward, we got Wilson, we got Hufanga, who was also a pleasant surprise. They talked about his slow 40 and what he's not able to do. He's a baller, okay? Talanoa Hufanga is a baller, and I'm glad he's on our team. But Marcel Harris also has that versatility. So in a defensive scheme, if we want to get creative and really throw somebody off, we can have him line up at the linebacker position and then shift the defense where Tart comes up, Ward moves over, and then Harris goes back. And now they looking like, whoa, why is he back at? Say it can confuse an offense and can confuse a quarterback because he has experience on the NFL level playing safety. So I was really happy that Marcel Harris made the squad.
Yeah, I was happy and surprised, but I liked, as you mentioned, I liked how he played in the preseason. He's definitely not afraid to hit. I think his better position is at the linebacker position. He can hit. He's fast. As you mentioned, he reads his keys. I'm not sure how many snaps he'll play on defense, but he probably can contribute in special teams as well. I was surprised by Tavonne Wilson. Honestly, I had never heard of him before the 49ers signed him, but he played like 95% of the first team reps at the safety position opposite of Jimmy Ward. Clearly, he's playing well. The defensive coordinator, our defensive coordinator, speaks highly of him, says that he's a leader. So that's definitely good to have. And then we have good depth in the secondary at the safety position, as you mentioned. I was also surprised with Trent Sherfield. I mean, he couldn't really, cut. He couldn't really make any significant. He couldn't make a difference on the offensive side of the ball. He was great at special teams, as we've heard. But now he's basically our third receiver, I think. I think it's between him, Sanu, and Jennings. And I think if all three of those players can contribute, if they can make up what Kendrick Bourne, did last year, I think we're in a good situation. But I was surprised by Trent Sherfield, Tavonne Wilson, as you mentioned, Talanoa Hufanga, another 5th round pick by the great John Lynch. I don't know what it is in the 5th round. He does a hell of a job in the 5th round, but Hufanga, we'll see how many plays he makes on the defensive side of the ball this year in the regular season, but I think he could be a great special teams player. And I think that's another great job by John Lynch. Shout out to John Lynch.
For sure.
It's Kim. What's good? She says, thanks for introducing me to Mose Knows.
Nice to meet you. Glad we were introduced. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Debbie Ryan. All right. She says our D-line will be ruthless and that will be intimidating to our opponents. Absolutely. The game is won and lost. Mose knows this firsthand. The game is won and lost in the trenches. If you can't block, if you can't block the pass rush, and if the pass rush gets to the quarterback, we saw the Super Bowl last year what that could do. Like, could you imagine if Tom Brady was in Pat Mahomes' shoes? I mean, Tom Brady can't be elusive as Pat Mahomes was, and it was still a terrible game for Chiefs fans. But yeah, that's where it starts in the trenches, and I think we have an A+ D line. Our offensive line, I think, is pretty good. That right side is it's not as good as the left side, but I think we'll be okay.
Here, I'm claiming this for the right side. Okay. Mike McGlinchey is going to have a bounce back season. And I say this because if you look at him, he already looks bigger. So he put the weight back on. He knows he needed to put the weight back on. You don't need to be a nimble offensive lineman. You already are an athletic offensive lineman for your size. You need to be able to have the power also. Obviously, for speed rushers, offensive linemen, there aren't that many athletic offensive linemen like a Trent Williams. There's Trent Williams. There's Teron Armstead in New Orleans. There's Tyron Smith in Dallas. But other than that, there aren't that many athletic tackles. You could add the rookie Rashawn Slater, who was drafted by the Chargers. But really, really athletic offensive linemen, there aren't too many of them. So if you get a really, really solid athletic speed rusher off the edge, like a Daniil Hunter, like a Brian Burns, thankfully we don't see those guys this year, we will give you help. Kittle stays in the block. Juice stays in the block. Our running backs can stay in the block. So McGlinchey will have the help. But I think from a pass protection standpoint, we are going to see an improvement from Mike McGlinchey. I don't want to keep talking down on him. I don't want to keep saying he stinks. I want to speak life into him because I think he's got enough of the bad talk. And as much as he says, that didn't affect him, I think it did to some degree. I think it got to a point where he needed to tune it out. But I think he's going to focus more on being the best right tackle for this team and not worrying about what the critics, what the naysayers, what the beat writers are saying, and just focus on doing his job. He knows he's a good offensive lineman. He's played this game for a long time. He knows he's capable. Now he has to put it on the field. And I think he's in that mindset now where he's just going to, let it all go and play his best football going forward. So I don't think that right side is going to be as shaky as we think it'll be.
And another great thing that's in McGlinchey's favor is he's in a contract year. A lot of players love the ball out in the contract year. He's got to get that generational wealth.
So if you want that money,
you have to produce. And there's no doubt McGlinchey is an excellent run blocker. As you mentioned, against the athletic guys, the upper echelon pass rushers, he struggles, but a lot of guys struggle against those type of players. And we got to mention Brunskill. He's not great, but he's a veteran. He knows Shanahan's system. He's played a lot of positions along the offensive line. I'm not surprised that Aaron Banks didn't take his job. I know a lot of people were expecting him because he was a second-round pick to take his job, but I wasn't shocked by that. There's, like Meek Mill says, there's levels to this, and Aaron Banks is this is your welcome to the NFL moment. You're not in college. You're not dominating people anymore. Now everyone is great in the NFL. And there's a transition, and that's what I kind of expected. But yeah, hopefully Brunskill and McGlinchey have an excellent year. And I think Alex Mack, with the addition of Alex Mack, will help that along all 5 of our offensive linemen. And I can't wait to see them week 1 versus Detroit. I gotta say, what's good to Matt Navarro? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. He says, "What's happening, Jay in the Bay?" Debbie says, "I agree 100%." With Niner Game Podcast, he says, "What have you done for us lately?" And they're talking specifically about Jalen Hurd. Not much, but we'll see what he does because he is healthy for week 1. So we'll see. We'll see if he actually suits up because he could. I think on game day. Correct me if I'm wrong. On game day, there's only, I want to say, 46 players that suit up. I believe. Yep. So
46.
I read a report. Matt Mayoko, great writer, covers the 49ers, that Jalen Hurd could maybe not even suit up week 1 versus Detroit. So, and I don't know if that could be due to injury or just, hey, he didn't crack the first 46. So we'll see what happens week 1. Let's see. Bay Gibson, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream. He says Trent Sherfield is going to have 15 touchdowns this year. Wow. Whoa. You are very optimistic. What do you think about that? Who do you think Mose Knows will be the leading receiver as far as touchdowns this year for the 49ers?
That honestly, that depends on who the quarterback is going to be. But if we say Jimmy is the quarterback for the whole year, I think it'll be Kittle.
Kittle, yeah.
I think Kittle will have the most touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he could get double figures as far as touchdowns.
Definitely.
I could see that. Part of me, call me crazy, but if they use Jalen Hurd in the red zone, hey, you never know. Maybe he could get some touchdown catches. You never know. But Matt Navarro says Jalen Hurd and Emmanuel Mosley missed practice. Hopefully nothing serious. Yeah, I mean, I know Mosley, he's got the lingering hamstring. Jalen Hurd is, obviously recovering from the torn ACL. He still can't practice every day, so that's going to be something to monitor. And Mark is speaking on Jalen Hurd's game one. He says he had no explosion in the first preseason game. Obviously, you ain't the same player after an ACL and back injury. It's another Trent Taylor and Jet McKinnon. Wow. If that's the case for Jalen Hurd, then yeah, that's not good. And he won't be with the team much longer. So
no.
Yeah.
He'll show in the games that he does get into play, he'll show, just like Jerick McKinnon last year, that he's not effective and that he's not explosive. Right. And if you're not explosive, then unfortunately you're not a fit in Kyle's system. Right. So at that point, you're expendable.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what are your thoughts? And that's a great avatar. Leads into our next question. What are your thoughts on the 49ers two-quarterback system rolling into Motown?
I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. When the Saints did it, I thought it was gimmicky. And while I think they did it well, because a lot of times when Taysom Hill came in the game, you really didn't know what they were going to do, because he could throw the ball. He had a strong arm. He could pass the ball. 9 times out of 10 he was running, but there were always wrinkles that they threw in where it caught you by surprise. He could also catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't think we'll be seeing Trey Lance running routes as a receiver catching the football. So, that option is out. But I think you give Jimmy, his shots to really take over, this starting quarterback job and own it as his, and say, while you may be the future, I'm right now, and I'm going to, make the most of every single snap that I have with this team for the rest of the year. Or if that's not the case, then you go with the rookie. You allow his growing pains and, allow him to take his lumps early, get him acclimated to the speed of the NFL game, and then really, take off once he's fully acclimated and ready to go. But I think that the two quarterback system, while it can, add a level of benefit just because it's something that defenses have to prepare for. They have to prepare both for Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Once you get enough of that tape, teams are going to be prepared and going to be ready for it. And I think if he's not your, full-time starter, you put Trey Lance in a position where he can get hurt on a play where you're trying to be cute and he's not involved at all. And now he gets hurt and you can't, go to him for however long he's down. So me personally, I'm not a fan of it.
No, I totally understand. I think the best benefit is that defenses will have to prepare for both quarterbacks, Jimmy and Trey. They obviously bring, different elements to the quarterback position. And I think the big negative is it just hurts in rhythm. How is Jimmy supposed to get in the rhythm if you take him out, I don't know, every 4 or 5 plays to put Trey in? I think that's where it could hurt the Niners. But obviously it worked well against the Raiders, but the Raiders weren't playing their ones in the preseason game. But yeah, I think from a fan perspective, I want to see Trey in there. I don't think he's ready yet, and we have a quarterback who's ready, who's played at a high level, and played some very important games in the playoffs and regular season. So that's why I think we should roll with Jimmy. But it will be nice to see Trey in there, see what he can bring to the table in actual real games. And hopefully, we haven't heard anything. I believe that in practice, Trey Lance is still not holding a football. He's still practicing without a football. He's not throwing. So hopefully that finger heals up. And I believe we should have today, I believe, was the 7th day, right? Because they said he would be out 7 days.
Yeah.
So I think he injured it last Monday. And so today, so I guess we'll see. if he practiced with the football today, but I know last week he didn't. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him progress through the week, and hopefully, he'll be ready to go, against Detroit. 49ers First Takes. What's good? He's another YouTube content creator as well as Niner Game Podcast. He says he reserves judgment for her. All right. I am the same way. I am the same way. Niner Game Podcast says, see what through. I have no faith he will contribute in any way. He's talking about Jalen Hurd. Well, we'll see. We shall see. John, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, John. He says maybe Hurd will be cut if he doesn't produce later in the season. That is a possibility. Local 49ers fan, what's good? Excellent avatar you got there. He says, what up, guys? Hurd is at the very least a good depth piece if healthy all year. Yes, and that's a big if. If he's healthy. Got to get your thoughts. Mose Knows, who is the 49ers' toughest NFC West opponent?
LA Rams, no question.
Said that with the quickness.
With the quickness. Because when you have a defense that has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, you got a shutdown corner and you got one of the best pass rushers that the NFL has ever seen. And while we've done well against him, Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald and he's going to get his. I think now the added benefit that they have, and I mean, it's still yet to be seen. So this is a little bit of a speculation, but I would say that Matthew Stafford is better in some ways than Jared Goff. And now in the same way that Kyle Shanahan has a quarterback that he's excited about rolling out his offense with, you have another really, really good offensive coach in Sean McVay who's excited about the quarterback he's rolling out. When an offensive coordinator or a play caller is not hampered by the limitations of their quarterback, watch what they do. We saw it with Andy Reid. When he went from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, whoa. That offense was already good, but that offense went to another level. So I think we're going to see that with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, where he doesn't have the same limitations that he had when Jared Goff was his quarterback. So I think you add that in with the solid defense that they have, and I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think Arizona, I think they're still trying to find their way. Yes, Kyler Murray is good. Yes, you have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins, but their offensive line still is not a strength of that team. I'm not afraid of their running backs, so they won't be able to have a balanced offensive attack. If Kyler Murray is their quarterback and their running back, while we did struggle with some of, him breaking the pocket and extending the plays, I'm not worried about that. And I think we'll be able to get a better grip on that this year, especially with the defensive line rotation and our linebackers, flowing to the ball a little bit better. The Seattle Seahawks, yes, Russell Wilson is still going to be Russell Wilson. They have a great offense, but they too don't have a great offensive line, and their defense is not the same. They lost, key pieces at every level of that defense. They lost Jaron Reed on the defensive line. They lost KJ Wright in the linebacker core. They lost Shaquille Griffin in the secondary. They lost a valuable piece at every level of the defense. They're not the same defense that they used to be. Yes, they still have Bobby Wagner. Yes, they have Jamal Adams, but I don't count on Jamal Adams playing 17 games, and they don't have a pass rush. So Seattle's not going to be the same team that we've seen in the previous years. So I think our toughest competition in the West is going to be the Rams.
And the Seahawks, one of the most, crushing moves this offseason, they traded Akello Witherspoon. How could they do that? How could they get rid of Akello?
And they got rid of Akello because they saw what we saw. Yeah. And I really do like Akello Witherspoon as a football player. I think he has everything that it takes to be successful. The problem is he's not consistent with that. I don't know what it is mentally, and his confidence is easily shaken, and he can play well for a little bit, and then he reverts to, some bad tendencies, poor fundamentals. Then his confidence gets shaken, and then he doesn't play well for a long stretch. So he lacks that consistency to play well for long stretches of time. So yeah, I mean, he had a good game against Seattle last year. I remember he, made a good play against DK Metcalf, and he did the whole muscle thing with the arms in front of him. And I'm like, okay, I like the moxie of Kello. And I think they saw that and they was like, well, let's bring him over. Maybe we can, invigorate his career. And because the 49ers did him so dirty, maybe he'll want to play harder for us, and especially to see them twice a year. But I think they saw the inconsistencies in his play and it was like, yeah, we're good off that.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Debbie with that $5 super chat. I appreciate that. She says, Jay, it blesses me to see the collaboration amongst my young brothers. Absolutely,
Miss Deb. Yeah. Yes.
I appreciate that. And you forgot to mention on that Seahawks defensive line, they got a superstar on that D line.
Oh, here we go.
Jr.
Here we go.
Hey, he led the team in sacks last year for the Niners. I was not surprised we didn't bring him back. I didn't think we would extend him on a multi-year deal, which the Seahawks did. But Kerry Hyder Jr., they brought back Dunlap. He's good. What's his name? Adams. He's not great in coverage, but he can definitely get after the quarterback. He can definitely be an enforcer on that defense. He's not Cam Chancellor, but he can hit. And that's always good to impose your will on the offense, especially a receiver. They don't want to go across the middle because they know Adams is there. So I think the Rams probably have the best or most complete team on offense and defense. But with the Seahawks, man, you got Russell. You're never really out of a game, and he's always, he's a problem. He's a problem. But I think for me, it's Seattle. Because I think Russell Wilson you're never out of a game. They got studs at the wide receivers. Their offensive line, they traded for Gabe Jackson, who kind of fell off his last few years with the Raiders. Maybe he's reinvigorated in Seattle, different coaching staff. He's actually playing with Russell Wilson. I mean, you go from Carr to Russell. I mean, that's a huge difference. And no shade thrown at Carr, but let's be real. Since Russell Wilson's been drafted, I mean, he's been a thorn in the Niners side,
Listen,
for sure.
I don't care. I don't care if he does take it as shade. Derek Carr is no Russell Wilson, point blank, period.
Right.
It's not shade, but if you take it as shade, I won't be upset. I'm not going to apologize for it. You are not Russell Wilson. Let's just keep it at that.
Let's not confuse anyone.
Yeah, you are not that.
Let's see. Niner Gang Podcast says, y'all got me hype. I'm doing the show tonight now.
Let's go.
And
let's go. I'll be in there.
Local 49ers fan says, Witherspoon has size, speed, hands, long arms, and legs, but his consistency is low. And I would also mention, in 2019, Witherspoon was starting at corner. He was looking good.
He started well.
Yes, he was looking good. He got hurt. And then he came back. He was never the same.
Not the same. Exactly.
I don't know if he came back too soon or he didn't have the same confidence. I don't know what it was, but yeah, he was never the same.
I think it was the confidence. I guess he started well. And that Buccaneers game, I was like, if we get this spoon next to Sherm, we good. We good. And he carried it into week 2, and then he got hurt. And it was like, when he came back, it's like he forgot how to play.
Right.
I don't know if he was worried about getting re-injured or what it was, but he reverted to poor fundamentals, and the poor fundamentals led to big plays or penalties, and then his confidence was shot, and it just never recovered.
He probably came back too soon. He was still hurt, but he tried to come back, and maybe he was overcompensating for another part of his body. That happens all the time. You have the 49ers schedule in front of you right now?
I could pull it up.
Okay, yeah, pull it up. I was going to ask you a question. What do you think is the toughest non-division game this year for the 49ers? We already know.
Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bill. We don't play Buffalo.
Oh, not Buffalo. I'm sorry. Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Have you done a checkup series on the Tennessee Titans?
Yep.
You have. Okay, cool. So you know all about the Titans.
I finished the checkup series. The last video actually drops in 10 minutes, and it's our beloved 49ers. So the checkup series is done. But yeah, I did a video on the Titans. That team looks solid, man. A solid offensive line. Ryan Tannehill has been reinvigorated in that new scheme and that new system. He's playing well. You know, you always got to contend with Derrick Henry. They got Julio Jones and AJ Brown on the outside. The defense, they're always going to play well under Mike Vrabel. You know, you add somebody like Bud Dupree, linebackers are solid, defensive line is solid, secondary is solid. They're going to be a good team. And I mean, Tennessee, they have an open stadium. So going to Nashville on December 23rd, I think it'll be a little chilly out there in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, playing at night, 8:00 at night tends to be a little bit colder. You don't have the sun. So I think that's probably our toughest non-division opponent, just because of when we're playing them and where. If that was a home game, maybe I'd switch our toughest non-division opponent to Green Bay, because you're facing Aaron Rodgers, the MVP. But if you look at how we played the Green Bay Packers the last couple years, Aaron Rodgers was playing in all of those games.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. So if I had to go with a tough non-division opponent, I'm gonna have to say Tennessee Titans.
I agree. And not only is that a Thursday night game, it's a short week for the 49ers. We have to fly down to Tennessee. And I think that game is 2 days before Christmas. So that's a tough game. And I would be surprised, if we get a win there. That would be a great win, but I would definitely be surprised. So you did, as I mentioned before, you did do a checkup. And for those that don't know, Mose Knows does a checkup of all 32 NFL teams on his channel, his YouTube channel. Link is in the description. I also left a link in the description for the Detroit Lions checkup that he did recently. That's also link is in the description. I wanted to talk about the Detroit Lions. What are your thoughts on the Lions? Are there any players on the offense or defense that the 49ers should be concerned about? Do the Lions have any playmakers who can scare the Niners? What are your thoughts on the Lions?
Do they have any playmakers that should scare the Niners? Again, no disrespect to this team, but I'm going to say no, simply for the fact that mostly everybody is new. Jared Goff is new. The wide receivers, anybody who's playing wide receiver is going to be new. The two starters are free agent acquisitions this offseason, Brashad Perryman and Tyrell Williams. I think their wide receiver number 3 is a rookie who I love, Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC. But again, he is a rookie on a new team with a new quarterback with a new offensive system. Deandre Swift is a decent running back. He's yet to show the consistency to be a top running back, but he is a tough running back to bring down. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think the one person that we do have to keep an eye out for is TJ Hawkinson, the tight end. He's probably going to be their number one weapon early. When you think about a new quarterback, a new offensive system, a tight end is going to be his best friend, somebody who can get him, easy completions over the middle, 5, 6, 7 yards, work that intermediate, work the sidelines with out routes and things of that nature. So I think that's the person that we need to watch out for. I think we're more than capable, put a guy like Fred Warner on him, put a guy like Jaquiski Tart on him. I think we'll be able to handle him, calm him down. I think their offensive line, while it might be the strongest, one of the strongest position groups on their team, I don't think they match up well with our defensive line. So I think we'll be able to control their running game and limit the yards per carry and the effectiveness of that running game. On the defensive side of the ball, no disrespect. There's not really anybody that I worry about. The corners are decent young corners. They still need, to develop and get better. Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah. But if you ask me, who am I taking in the 2v2, Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah versus Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, even if I wasn't a 49ers fan, I'm going Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk 10 out of 10. I think our receiving core versus their secondary. It's going to have a field day. The Detroit Lions have mentioned it before. They struggle covering tight ends. They don't have a really solid linebacker core, so they struggle in that area. I think we can. We're going to see a lot of Kittle. If they struggle covering tight ends and Kittle is open, Jimmy is going to find him and hit him. The defensive line group is another strong position group. They have Trey Flowers, Deshaun Hand, a couple other guys, but I think our offensive line with Alex Mack, Laken Tomlinson going up against his former team, Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey, who's better in the run game, and Daniel Brunskill. I think our offensive line will be able to handle them, easily, create open lanes for our running backs. Hopefully keep Jimmy Garoppolo upright in the pocket. So I don't see us having too many issues. If we do have issues against this Detroit Lions team, then something is really wrong, whether it be scheme, whether it be play calling, and we'll need to look into that. But on paper, there isn't much of a threat from this Detroit Lions team.
And you mentioned Laken Tomlinson. He's coming home back to Motown, and that's a trade that a lot of people don't talk about. I think that was one of Lynch's first trades in 2017. He traded for Laken Tomlinson. I think it was like a 5th round pick or something, and that was definitely an excellent trade. Lincoln's been with the team 4 years now. Hopefully, he can continue to be with the Niners for years to come. But I'm excited to see Penei Sewell, one of the best offensive linemen to be drafted out of this year's draft. I think he's playing right tackle, and I believe Bosa lines up on the offense's right side. So it'll be Bosa against Sewell, and it'll also be interesting to see who lines up after Bosa, whether that be Arden Key, whether that be Samson. I'm sure Armstead will play a little edge. So I'm looking forward to that matchup with Penei Sewell. Will he get his welcome to the NFL moment? Definitely looking forward to that. And then you got Jared Goff. He struggled against the Niners the last, 4 times I think we've played. I think we've beaten the Rams like 2 straight years when Goff was at the helm. So we'll see a familiar face, unfortunately for Goff. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this game. You mentioned Hawkinson, the tight end. He had a pretty good rookie season. That'll be a great matchup for the 49ers defense, whether, as you mentioned, Tart, Ward, Warner, Greenlaw could all be covering him. I think Goff will go to the tight end a lot, so I think that could be a matchup. I think he will throw to the tight end and the running backs out of the backfield a lot. But I'm definitely looking forward to the Lions game to kick off the season.
I would definitely look at that right tackle position because while Penei Sewell, I think is a very, very good offensive lineman. He has the side, he has the size, he has the power, the athleticism. Word out of Detroit is he's been struggling so far through preseason, through training camp. He's been struggling, but that seems to be the case for a lot of the rookies who sat out in 2020. If you look at Cincinnati and you look at Jamar Chase has been struggling. He's been having issues with catching the ball, and he's not catching the ball from a foreign entity. Like he's catching the ball from his former college teammate in Joe Burrow. We 49ers, I talked about this a little bit earlier with Nick from Nothing But Niners. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Mike, Tony, Breezy, Nothing But Niners, Nitty Gritty Niners. Shout out to all those guys. That's family. But we were talking about Ambry Thomas and how he's kind of had a slow acclimation to the NFL because he sat out in 2020. So a lot of the rookies who sat out their college season in 2020 are having a slow go at it, in the NFL. So I'm looking to see that matchup because if he is struggling and he's having issues getting acclimated to the speed of the NFL game, and you got to go up against Bosa, Ford, Ebukam, Key, and Armstead. Listen, brother, he in for a long day that day. Yeah. So I'm really looking to that side to see, if we may get a few freebies or a few easy ones because, he's getting his, welcome to the NFL moment, like you called it, just because he's having a slow go of it so far.
Exactly. And I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup because, as you mentioned, the Lions, they don't have a lot of household names on the offensive side of the ball. And Sanu Penei, he's one of the, most notable offensive players that the Lions have besides Goff. I've heard of Swift. He appears to be a solid running back. But yeah, I'm definitely will be locked in on that matchup. And because if he's a turnstile at that right tackle spot, Goff's going to be in for a long day.
Yes, he is.
For a long day. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Can you predict the 49ers regular season schedule? How many wins, how many losses?
If I'm being bold,
yeah,
13-4.
Woo, all right.
If I'm being bold,
who do you think those
13-4
losses would be to?
I think we will drop one to Seattle. I think we'll split there.
Yeah.
I think we're going to split with the Rams. I said our toughest opponent is going to be Tennessee, so I'll take that one as a loss. And I'm kind of on the fence. See, it's tough. It's for me, it's either between Green Bay and the Colts.
Yeah.
Green Bay just because it's early, but the way we've played Green Bay in the past doesn't make me feel like we'll play them any different. And then I would say the Colts just because they're a really, really good team. They have a great defense. If Carson Wentz is healthy, although he's not the same MVP Carson Wentz, he's still a solid quarterback. And if Quentin Nelson comes back healthy, then that offensive line, which is top 5 in the league, they have great weapons. They have a good defense. Buckner coming back to San Fran, they're going to want to play for him and make sure that he gets a W in his return to San Fran. So that one's tough too. But, you give Kyle 2 weeks to prepare for a team coming off of a bye. It's tough to beat them. So I think I want to be bold and say we take both of those. So then that makes us 14-3. But I feel like one of those will drop. So I'll say 13-4.
I dig it. I agree with Luke. What's good? Luke Luna, he says 12-5. You already know, Jay, we've been here before, but 12 is pretty realistic. Yeah. I think on a high end, I would say 12 wins because there's always going to be that one game where we're supposed to win.
That trap game, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then we don't show up or we could win the Tennessee game, right? And then lose the next game after that or something like that. That's a tough game. But yeah, also looking forward to the last game of the season against the LA Rams. That could decide who's the winner of the division.
Yes, sir.
So that's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup.
I love how the NFL did that, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Making that last game of the season across the NFL, all division games. Yeah. That was a smart play, NFL. Well done.
And they can flex it, too. They can flex that into a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a great decision on their part. So I got to ask you about the young bull. I got to ask you about the future franchise quarterback, Trey Lance. We haven't talked much about him except for, the 2 quarterback system. So when do you think Lance – actually, let me give you a scenario. Let's say going into the bye week, so – Week 6, the 49ers are 4-2. Jimmy's healthy. He's playing well. He's not turning over the ball. And the team is winning, obviously. Would you put Trey in if that scenario presents itself that I just mentioned?
No. Because going into the bye is week 6.
Yeah.
So we could either be 4-1 or 3-2.
Yeah.
So if we're 4-1 going into the bye and Jimmy's playing well, if he's completing north of 65% of his passes and he has a 2-1 or 3-1 touchdown ratio, then go with the hot hand. Yeah. He's playing well. And if you look at that stretch, this is another thing that we were talking about earlier. After Detroit and Philly, it's Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona. That's our toughest 3-game stretch of the season. After that, we don't have another 3-game gauntlet for the rest of the way. So if we can get through that 3-game stretch with those first 2 games and come out 4-1 and Jimmy's playing well, I don't see any reason to upset what's going on and insert Trey Lance into the starting lineup. As much as I want to see him, as much as I want him to play, I'd rather him start week 1.
Yeah.
I would rather him start week 1. And it's another thing I mentioned earlier. I'm not, as a fan, I'm not one of those who wish we go 2-3 or 1-4 into the bye and then go to Trey and then, rattle off 11 games because, we're behind the 8 ball. I'd rather go into the bye 4-1, fully in control of our destiny and our division, and we're in the driver's seat. And if that means Jimmy's playing well and we don't have to see Trey yet, I'm absolutely fine with that.
I totally agree. So if you were Shanahan, who would you have start week 1?
If I was Shanahan, Jimmy would have been traded already, and Trey Lance would have been start. Because if you look at it, if you go back to the Bengals started Joe Burrow, right. The Browns started Baker Mayfield. This year, the Patriots are starting Mac Jones. The Jets are starting Zach Wilson. The Jaguars are starting Trevor Lawrence. The 49ers as a team are a better situation than any one of those 3. They're a better situation than what Joe Burrow started in. They're a better situation than what Baker Mayfield started in. So why not go with the player that has higher upside? And that, like I mentioned with Sean McVay, he doesn't limit what Kyle can call and scheme up from an offensive perspective. Yes, I understand you don't want to shake his confidence because he's a young guy. But a lot of what I've been hearing and what I agree with is because he didn't play much football, he only played 1 game last year. He kind of had one of those opt-out seasons like everybody else. He needs those reps. And I think, differently from a lot of other young players, I think Trey Lance has the mental capacity, just seeing how he's handled the games up to this point, seeing how he handled his draft status, hearing from coaches and teammates and family. I think he has the mental capacity to be able to take his lumps, take his bumps and bruises early, learn from them, and only get better and not have it shake his confidence like an Ahkello Witherspoon. So if I was Kyle, I want to see him right away. And I think you can get his confidence up early because the first 2 games we played Detroit and Philly. Again, I'm not slighting anybody. We have to take every opponent seriously. But if you look at those first 2 games, if you ask the Niner faithful, I'm sure 99.9% of the faithful would say after those first 2 games we're 2-0. We just have better rosters than both of those teams. So if you want to get his confidence going early, put him in against those 2 teams. Let him get two dubs. Let him see what NFL defenses look like, and then really get him acclimated against the Green Bay Packers. Really get him acclimated against the Seahawks, against the Cardinals, and then go into your bye with 2 weeks of going over 5 sets of game footage, going over the good and the bad, correcting mistakes, fixing little things here or there. And then after that 2 weeks of having a 5-game sample size, then you move forward and you really take the training wheels off and unleash this guy week 7 against the Colts and the rest of the season. So that's what I would do.
All righty. How much time do I have? Let's see. I think Shanahan still has Jimmy on the team because he is valuable to the 49ers. Shanahan, let's be real. Let's look at Shanahan's, his coaching record with the 49ers. He hasn't had a successful season unless Jimmy G was under center for a full season. We know what happened in that season. You mentioned starting Trey Lance as a rookie on the road. Even though it's Detroit and Philly, it's still on the road. I would be more comfortable if it was at home. But I feel like since we still have Jimmy on the squad, and as you mentioned, we could have easily cut him. We could have easily traded him. But that's not the case. Jimmy's still on the team. He's a veteran. I don't want to put a rookie in that position if we don't have to. And in that position, I mean on the road for the first 2 weeks, a rookie. You mentioned that the Jags are going to start Trevor. The Jets are going to start Zach Wilson. But I feel like those franchises are rebuilding. Those franchises don't have a Jimmy G type starter ahead of them on the depth chart. And I know everyone in the chat and you feel that, hey, this is a playoff roster, bare minimum. We should definitely get to the playoffs and possibly to the Super Bowl. And why not have Jimmy G do that when he's done it before? I mean, he's proven he can get us to the playoffs. Now, hold on, excuse me. Not get us to the playoffs, but he's a part of getting the team to the playoffs. I know we relied heavily on the running game, the defense, and I think we'll do that again. But since Jimmy is already here, I think it would be best have him start week 1 and, sprinkle in just a skosh for Trey Lance, as, Shanahan already mentioned.
Let me throw this at you as devil advocate, because this is something that I thought about too.
Okay.
I know you mentioned that, you don't want Trey to play, especially on the road. But I think there may be more pressure if he starts at home. Especially if it was week 1 and we were starting at home. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of pressure because the fan base is split. There's the Jimmy fans and there's the Trey fans. So when you're in a building with 75 to 100,000 Niner fans and 50,000 of them are Jimmy fans and 50,000 are Trey fans, you got half of a stadium cheering for you and the other half wanting you to fail. That's immense pressure in your first ever game. Where if you're on the road, the faithful that are there, the faithful that travel, they faithful regardless. And I'm sure that that would still be 50-50. I'm sure there's still Jimmy fans within that faithful group, but it's not as many as it would be at home. So you on the road, you don't really have the pressure of the fan base. You in front of a bunch of other fans, you'll see more blue than red, which you don't care about that because you're trying to make them be quiet anyway, and you get to just do your thing. Then when you come home, week 3, 2-0, maybe some of them Jimmy fans that didn't want to see you play, maybe they on your side because now you got the momentum coming home against Green Bay 2-0, knowing how good we were against them with Jimmy. Now, with you and the numbers that you put up in the first 2 weeks, with the defense that we have that's healthy and the running game that we have that's healthy, we're going to be even better. Oh, we good. What's good?
I gotta say, what's good? Bay Area Throwbacks, thanks for checking in, man. He says, what's good? I appreciate you joining the stream. I think one thing we'll agree on, we want what's best for the 49ers. And I think right now, Jimmy G gives the Niners the best chance to win. I think that's why Jimmy's still on the roster. And
is it the best chance to win or the safest? Because that's two different things.
I would say he's definitely the safest because you know what to expect from Jimmy. You know what to expect. Best chance, I would say, yeah, because we've actually seen Jimmy take a snaps, hundreds of snaps in real meaningful games. We haven't seen Trey Lance take snaps in meaningful games. And let's be real. If we were a rebuilding franchise, Jimmy wasn't on the roster, we had Brian Hoyer or Andy Dalton ahead of Trey, then I would be like, nah, go ahead, put Trey in. Clearly, there's no expectations of a long playoff run. Put Trey in. As Mark said in the chat, he needs the snaps, absolutely. But there are plenty of rookie quarterbacks who've had successful, seasons, successful NFL careers who didn't start their rookie year. We know Aaron Rodgers; he's one of the main ones. Most rookie quarterbacks don't start their rookie year. Lamar Jackson didn't start. There are tons of other quarterbacks who haven't started their rookie year, and there's been a lot of quarterbacks who've haven't been able to recover. I think for some reason I'm thinking of David Carr in Houston, but clearly those are two different teams, two different franchises at different points. But he was kind of like the worst example or one of the worst where his confidence was just shot. And I don't think we want to do that to the young bull. And I know he's intelligent, he's very confident, but I just feel there's no need to put him in that situation when you got the vet right there. And I think he can lead us again back to the playoffs. So yeah, that those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I can't ride with the Houston example just because, I mean, when he was with Houston, Derek Carr was like the most sacked quarterback like 3 years in a row. Yeah. Like 3 years in a row, their team led the league in sacks given up. So yeah, I don't think it was his confidence shaking as much as like he just wasn't able to complete passes. Like when you're on your back and you can't throw to anybody. So I don't think that would be the same situation with Trey. But listen, the real me, like, although I want Trey to play, if Jimmy's here, I don't want him to be a $24.5 million paperweight.
Backup quarterback? You don't want him to be a $24 million backup quarterback?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So if we're paying him the money, I want to get my money's worth. If I go to a restaurant and you're going to tell me that this, sirloin steak or this New York strip that I'm about to pay for is $65, you better give me $65 worth of really, really good steak. Yeah. I better be pleased with my meal once I finish eating it. So if we paying him this much money, I want to get the most bang for our buck. And if, the more time we can just have Trey, honestly, what I want to see is I just want to see Trey on the sideline standing next to Kyle Shanahan the whole game. I want him listening to how Kyle calls the plays into Jimmy. I want him to see what Kyle is thinking on a given play. I want him to see, how Jimmy, relays the play to the offense, gets everybody set up and runs the play. When they come back on the sideline and they're looking at the surface and they're looking at how the play breaks down, I want to see him in that huddle with Jimmy, with Kyle, because all of that is information that he's processing. And the more information that he can process that way, once he gets into the game and he understands how Kyle calls plays, so that if he's in a noisy environment, he knows Kyle's cadence and how he says certain things so he doesn't miss anything. So he understands Kyle's thought process for if a game is flowing a certain way. I kind of have an idea of where he's going. Let me listen to him. Let me see. One thing that Kyle said is huge is he loves that Trey is able to see the defense, understand what they're giving to him, but then relay it when he comes off to the sideline. So I think all of that information dump that he's going to get is only going to make him a better quarterback. And if he doesn't play this year, then next year, Trey Lance is going to be really scary because he has the physical ability, but you add that mental component to it, watch out.
I absolutely agree. And as Kim says, we are in a really good situation. Absolutely.
Yes, we are.
J.A. Aguayo says, in my opinion, the winning is the most important factor. I think that Shanahan wants to start Trey in packages and little by little give him confidence. I think Shanahan absolutely knows Trey is legit. And I presented that situation to you at the beginning of this question because I think that could happen where the team is off to a good start. There's no need to really take out the hot hand in Jimmy and put Trey in. I just don't think that makes sense. And we've seen, I believe, looking at Jimmy's record, we've seen more of good Jimmy than bad Jimmy, in my opinion. And I know you could easily decipher 10, 20, 30 plays where it's bad Jimmy and vice versa. Or you could look at the same plays or different plays throughout the game and you see good Jimmy. He's not a perfect quarterback, but when he's under center, the Niners are at their best. And I like how you said, is he the safest answer or is he the best gives the Niners the best chance to win? And I guess I'm more willing to ride with safe. And because that's what I know, that's what I've seen. I don't know how Trey Lance is going to react in Philly with their crazy fans. I don't know how he's going to react in Motown versus the Lions. I have no clue, but I've seen Jimmy, and I know at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree, but we want the best for the Niners, and we want the Niners to be successful. So no matter who's under center, if it's Nate Sudfeld, if it's Josh Rosen, if the Niners
whoa,
that's all that matters. That's all that matters, baby.
Whoa. what the old guy saying? What did the old guy say in barbershop? Hey, you're going too far now.
Hey, if the Niners are winning, that's all that matters, man. Absolutely. But it's been a pleasure having you on Mose Knows. For those that are just tuning in, make sure you look at the links in the description of this video. Make sure you follow Mose Knows on Facebook, Twitter, IG. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. He also has a great checkup series where he talks about all 32 NFL teams. One of the videos I linked in the description is the Detroit Lions. We have to look at the Detroit Lions. Obviously, the Niners play them on Sunday to see who we should be concerned about, if anyone. Make sure you check that out. And the floor is yours, Mose Knows. What should your current subscribers and future subscribers expect from you during the season?
During the season, I'll just be doing checkups. So how my channel really got started is I was actually doing write-ups. So after each week of football, I would take 5 or 6 key moments or big moments or top stories or things that I thought was important to talk about. And I would just write up a short little paragraph about each thing. Last year when Josh Allen started off hot, I was saying, is this the maturation of Josh Allen? Is he legit, or is this just a product of an easy schedule? When the Steelers started 8-0 and was running off games, I was like, are they back? Is this legit, or will they taper off? So, I try to pick, 5 or 6 things each week to kind of focus on. So instead of doing that in written form, I'll be doing that in video form on my YouTube channel. Also, one of the biggest things that I'm excited for this season is my IRL in real life vlogs. So for anybody on the East Coast or anybody traveling to the East Coast and who will be at that Philly game in week 2, I live on the East Coast. I'm in Jersey, so I will be in Philly at that game. So I'm going to be, taking my camera around, getting some good shots of the 49ers tailgate, some Eagles tailgate, getting score and game predictions from both 49ers and Eagles fans, getting some shots from inside the stadium, and just putting that video out as like a in real life at an NFL game. So I'm excited about, that coming out. And then, leading up to the week. So I'll do a recap of the week after, but leading up to the week, I'll, pick 5 or 6 things also that, people should look out for. Players who are doing well, players who aren't doing well, teams who are doing good, teams that aren't doing good matchups. So you'll at least be getting 2 videos from me a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If there is any additional content like the in real life vlogs or other important things I need to talk about, that'll be a 3rd video, most likely on Wednesdays. But looking forward to the season. Can't wait to see what our Niners do. But I'm a football junkie through and through. So I'm just excited for the season, excited to get this content out for you guys, and can't wait to share those ideas that I have.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that we made this connection, and I love YouTube. I didn't think about this when I first started doing the YouTube, that it's really about a community. And I'm glad that we've made this connection. I can't wait to collab with you in the future. And that's going to be an interesting video. You going to, an away game for the 49ers. I've never been to the Eagles Stadium. I have no idea what to expect. So I'm definitely looking forward to that content. I'm going to be watching that. Because it'll be like we're in the stadium with you.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that I hope is that like I get out of there unscathed. There's no fights. The last time, funny thing, last time I was at an Eagles game was way back in 2009. It's actually surreal because I went to that game right after my son was born. And I went with my dad. It was December. It was cold. And it was Niners versus Eagles. And it was a point in that game where some Eagles fans was like throwing French fries and hot dog pieces and soda, ice from their soda. Like they were throwing all kind of stuff at me because I was like sitting amongst a whole bunch of Eagles fans. And it got to a point where my dad, who was an Eagles fan, he had to stand up and was like, all right, y'all doing too much now. I had to tell them to chill out. Yeah. So I hope that I can do my video, keep it classy, keep it, kid and family friendly, and not have any videos or any fights like we saw at that Steelers preseason game. So the Eagles fans can get a little bit rowdy living here on the East Coast. I can tell you, Eagles fans are not the best group of fans to be around. So hopefully I can make it in and make it out the stadium in one piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be safe, brother, and because those Eagles fans are kind of notorious for their behavior, and I think sometimes fans take it too far, man. Let the players on the field fight it out. We're all fans; we're just trying to enjoy the game. But I'm definitely interested in that vlog and the rest of your content that you have coming for the season. We're 3 days away from the Thursday night game, Buccaneers and Cowboys, and obviously, 5 days away from the Niners kicking it off with the Lions. But like I said before, it's been a pleasure. Mose Knows. Make sure you guys subscribe to his YouTube channel. I appreciate you coming on. And congrats on extending your family again, growing your family with your fourth child. And I can't wait till we collab again in the regular season in this type of format. And I appreciate you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we definitely are going to collab again. I had a lot of fun chopping it up with you tonight. So thank you. I appreciate you for having me on. I appreciate, the fans, your followers, your subscribers that love you, that, now are supporting me. So, exactly. By supporting you, they're supporting me as well. So I appreciate them. I appreciate you. Like I said, this will not be the last time that we get together to put some content out for the faithful. So I'm looking forward to it as well. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. And shout out to everyone in the chat who's subscribed to Mose Knows, and also make sure you follow him on IG and Twitter. Excellent content. But you have a good rest of your night and have a productive work week, man. I'll see you in the next
too, brother.
One, man. All right.
Appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for coming through. All righty. So that was Mose Knows. Excellent up-and-coming YouTuber. He talks about all 32 NFL teams, but of course he represents the faithful, the Niner Empire. And it was a pleasure to have him on. Honestly, I didn't even expect to be on with him 2 hours. Usually I try to limit guests to like an hour. But it just flowed. And he has a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate him coming on. And I can't wait till we do a collab again. But let's continue on with these comments. So Niner Sickness says, the minute that Jalen Hurd becomes that player, I believe he will be, all the haters will be like, I knew it. Probably. I think so. Probably. Monica, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, Monica. She says, Niner Sickness, I'm with you, big dog. Yep. Monica is also a Jalen Hurd fan. She knew that he was going to make that 53-man active roster, and she spoke it into existence. Mark says Tom Compton sucks. That's not the first time I've heard that. And Mose Knows agrees with you. He's not sure why Tom Compton is still on the roster. Niner Gang provides his input on that Tom Compton decision. He says, another Shanahan guy. He always trying to bring the homies. Yes, and he, Compton knows the system. I don't think he really kept Compton because, hey, I'm going to start this guy 17 games. He's like, hey, this is a backup veteran. He can play multiple positions along the offensive line. He could be solid in a pinch, but obviously we don't want him to play 17 games. Mark says, imagine picking Tom Compton over Dakota Shepley. I don't know why, we did that. And I think Dakota Shepley got picked up, by the Seahawks, But Jay says, when Jimmy balls out, Jimmy G haters will be so mad. And that's the thing. I understand people want Trey Lance to start. I get it. But if Jimmy plays well, the team wins. Isn't that what we want? We want the team to be successful, right? I mean, whether Shanahan decides, hey, I'm putting Trey in week one, then I'm rooting for Trey, and I hope he's successful. So, let's see. Blue True says, Miss Monica's in the house. Happy Labor Day. Absolutely. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Youper Charlie, what's good? Appreciate you liking the stream, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it tonight. Monica says, Blue True, good to see you. Thank you. Happy Labor Day to you as well. Let's see. TN Fish Keeper, what's good? He says he liked the stream. I appreciate that. Let's see. Minister Brandon, he is a Detroit Lions fan. So keep up that same level of energy, come 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. I don't think you left your prediction. I got to know your prediction, Minister Brandon. If you're still on, do you think your Lions will win on Sunday? Let me know in them comments. Let's see. Monica says, hell yeah, Jay. LOL. The only thing the Lions are winning is the number 1 pick in next year's draft. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think the Lions will win too many games this year. I mean, I think I saw their schedule. They might win 6 or less games, maybe something like that. But good luck to them Lions. They're going to need it. Local 49ers fan says, I think Marcel Harris can play better in the short field than him running 10 yards to possibly over pursuing at safety. Yeah. And Marcel Harris made that transition from safety to linebacker. And I think that's where he's at his best at linebacker. And maybe he can also produce on special teams. Niner Game Podcast. Wait, you surprised with Sherfield but played devil's advocate for Hurd? Yes, I was surprised with Sherfield because he was just a special teams player on the Cardinals. He didn't really produce in any of the offensive snaps with the Cardinals. So I was surprised that he's basically wide receiver 3 with the 49ers. I was surprised. And I wanted to play devil's advocate. I wanted to give a different perspective on Hurd, and hopefully Hurd, will stay healthy and be productive for us. Okay, let's continue with the comments. Let's see. Monica says, our Stars back to face a listless Lions team in rebuild mode. Detroit has a new starting quarterback and top 2 receivers, so asking them all to gel against a dominant Niners defense is a bit much. I agree. But it is week 1. The Lions have a new head coach, a new manager, new general manager. They're gonna, this is their home opener. You could argue this is their Super Bowl going up against the 49ers, so they're definitely not gonna lay down, that's for sure. Let's see. Local 49ers fan giving us an update on Trey Lance in practice today. He says, I think I saw a video today from our SF 49ers or the SF 49ers throwing the football around with no splint on Instagram. Okay. I hope that's true with Trey. Let's see. Niner Game Podcast says, really, you don't think it's the Seahawks? Brunskill is the AD killer. Brunskill did have a good game against AD. There's no doubt about that. Hey, Zeus, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream. Hey, Zeus, he says, Niners need defensive tackle like Jordan Davis. Okay. I think our defensive line is pretty stout. I think we're good in that department. Caden Jenkins, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, KJ. Hopefully you have a good rest of your school week, man. Productive week. Luke Luna, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, Luke. Let's see. Mark says the Lions D-line ain't no match up against the Niners offensive line. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we should be able to win that battle in the trenches on both sides of the ball. I don't think that'll be a problem for us. Mark says Jimmy will get sacked only one time in the Lions game. Okay. He also says our offensive line is stronger, too good against the Lions D-line. Monica says have a good rest of your night to Jay, Mose, and the chat. Hopefully you have a good night, and thanks for tuning in to the stream. Let's see. Mark says, what does Trey Lance need to improve on? I think he needs snaps. He needs experience. Just not this year. We got Jimmy G, just not this year. I don't think he needs that this year. In the preseason, what I saw was in short passing situations, he did throw the ball really hard. I know this is professional football. I know the receiver should catch the ball, but he could work on his touch. I think that's something he could work on, and is his touch. He also has to work on his decision making, and the only way he'll really be able to do that is in practice and in game mode. There were a few plays where he could have thrown an interception in a few of the preseason games, and that's what I expect from a rookie quarterback. I'm not expecting him to be perfect in any way, and he's a work in progress, but I think the future is definitely bright for Trey Lance and the 49ers organization. Luke Luna says, you know what it is, Jimmy G to start and make this thing hum, baby. I'd agree with you. 49er Faithful said, Mose, what's your thoughts on Hufanga? So we did talk about this earlier on in the show, and Mose was basically saying that Talanoa Hufanga is a baller. You know, he can hit. I know the knock on him was he was kind of injury prone in college. Also, he was kind of slow in the 40, but his game speed when he's on the field, his instincts are just it's something you can't really calculate unless you see him on the field. His instincts are amazing. He's always around the ball carrier. He can hit. And I'm eager to see how the 49ers use him on defense, but I think he'll make his mark this year on special teams for sure. Matt Moses, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, Matt. He says, what's up, faithful? We doing good on a Monday night. Let's see. Matt says, Trey just won us a Super Bowl on my Madden franchise. I simulated the season, and he is legit. Well, if he did it in Madden, then he can do it in the pros, Matt. Let's see. Who else? Mark says, exactly, Moss. Anyways, I don't mind if Jimmy G starts, but what's risky? Will Lance develop by sitting? I think you can still develop by sitting. Plenty of quarterbacks have not started their rookie year, and they've been just fine. And I think honestly, the only reason he doesn't start is because Jimmy's there. I think that's the only reason. I think that's a valid reason because of what we've seen from Jimmy. Let's see. Mark says, how will Trey Lance develop? Josh Allen played, and look where he is at. Trey needs rep. Yeah, Josh Allen also, he did struggle a lot in those early Buffalo years, especially on accuracy. I think Trey can, he's gonna be practicing. That's how he'll continue to develop. He'll continue to learn the playbook, and he has to get used to that NFL speed. And I don't think we should have a $25 million backup quarterback. I just don't see that happening. And I think Trey will get some snaps in the regular season games. It'll be interesting. Over under Trey Lance, how many snaps will he get in the regular season game against the Detroit Lions? Over under 10. I wonder if we'll see. If it's a blowout, I could definitely see Trey Lance playing, if we're up by 2 touchdowns, there's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Yeah, why not put Trey in? Luke Luna says, the other teams you mentioned had more polished NFL-ready quarterbacks. Yes, we have a good team, but we don't need to take extra L's for development when we have Jimmy. We're Super Bowl bound. I agree. Mark says the team loves Jimmy G, and Kyle knows that. We win with him, which is important. Absolutely. If we're winning with him, he should stay the starter. Mark says to Luke, I said and knew all along that Jimmy G is the starting quarterback and don't mind as long as Kyle knows what he's doing and can develop Trey Lance in the right way. And I think he's doing well so far. Let's see. Luke says, no matter who is playing quarterback, I'm a 49ers fan. I root for the faithful for this team. People who can't support it, if they play one, not the other, aren't ride or die. And that's your perspective. But I agree with you that whoever starts their quarterback, as long as we're winning, that's all that matters. I'm not worried about fantasy points. I'm not worried about stats. Oh, Jimmy doesn't throw the long ball. I'm not really concerned about that. I'm concerned about, wins and losses. And clearly Jimmy has an excellent win-loss record. Trent in the sip. What's good? He says, what's up, Jay? Watching this during halftime of Ole Miss and Louisville game. I appreciate you coming through to the stream. Thanks for your support. Luke says, young Aaron Mahomes, TB12, and many of the best sat because they naturally way of good organizations. They aren't forced to play number one picks. Yeah, and there's definitely no need to put him in now. But we got Jimmy G. Let's see. 49er faithful. As long as we're winning, I'll be fine with whoever our QB1 is. Absolutely. Matt Moses says, good show. I appreciate that, man. And make sure you guys check out Mose Knows. Excellent content creator. All his links are in that description. Luke says, people are kidding themselves if they think defenses can't scheme up ways to fluster a rookie that's raw. They can. I'm sure there are certain defensive coverages that Trey Lance hasn't seen, and that could confuse a rookie, and that's expected. Let's see. J.A. Aguayo says none of the faithful have a problem when Jimmy G won his first 5 games and we signed him to the big contract. Glad we have owner who went for it with his money. Mose, you be blessed. Absolutely. Great point, J.A. Great point. Luke says Trey has the ability to dominate games, but it takes time. He can't do it till he can quickly process NFL level schemes. Jimmy has proven he can handle it. I would agree. Debbie Ryan, appreciate your thoughts. She says, really enjoyed the show, fellas. Can't wait for y'all to do it again. Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have to collab again in the regular season. And it's always great to build a community. That's something I didn't realize when I started my YouTube journey. Is it's about building a community, especially with other 49er content creators and also other content creators in the NFC West, the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks. Those are always good people to talk to as well. And yeah, that was a great collab. I definitely didn't intend on staying on this long, but the conversation flowed. Also, shout out to everyone that was in the chat today. You guys contributed great as well. Niner Faithful says, see you in the next stream. Absolutely. It's Kim says, thank you, Jay. Jay says, which songs do you use for your intro? Yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm going to send you a message on YouTube about that because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I will send that to you. It's basically, it's on an app called Video Leap, but I'll send you that information, Jay. J.A. Aguayo says, really wonderful person. Big love to Mose Knows. Great info, great discussion. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Yeah, he should have more subscribers. He's got 368. He started in February. He should definitely have more subs. Definitely he's an excellent content creator, man. J.A. Aguayo says, we are the faithful, and we have to support our team's decisions, good or bad. Absolutely. Scott Hill, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, Scott. I think it's good. We support the team's decisions. I also, it's all good to be critical of the team. I don't see anything wrong with that. We're not always going to, drink the Kool-Aid. But yeah, I think it's good. I trust Shanahan. I trust his judgment. So, the decisions he makes usually I agree with. I'm not sure if I'm riding with the Jalen Hurd decision, but I can understand why. I definitely understand why we kept Hurd. Don't necessarily like it. But hey, if Hurd is productive this year, I'll be happy we kept him, right? So let's see what he does. Scott Hill says, what's up, Jay? Good show. Like the collaboration. Do you think Hufanga will start? No, I don't think Hufanga will start. I think it's Tavonne Wilson's job to lose opposite of Jimmy Ward. Jaquiski Tart is back there. But he's battling. Well, he was out for the first 6 weeks due to that turf toe injury, but he seems to be back and healthy. But that turf toe injury, it could flare up at any time. And Tavonne Wilson has been getting the bulk of the first team snaps in practice. And also D'Amico Ryans, our defensive coordinator, speaks very highly about Tavonne Wilson. So hopefully he can be productive in the regular season. Jay says Talanoa Hufanga might be the next Troy Polamalu if he balls out. I mean, Troy Polamalu, he's a Hall of Famer. So, I don't want to compare Hufanga to him, but he can be the best Talanoa Hufanga he can be. And I think that'll be all good with the Niners. Shout out to J.A. Aguayo, $5 super chat. He says, great guest. You be blessed. You do the same, J.A. Aguayo. Thanks for tuning into the stream. You have a good rest of your Monday night. The Ramelia Sports Report, what's good? Appreciate you joining the stream, man. He says, props my Niner brother at J in the Bay. And good luck to your team against them good old Chi-Town Bears Sunday night. I think that's the Sunday night football game. Prime time. Definitely looking forward to that game. Jay says, I got to go. Jay in the Bay, have a great night. You do the same, man. KD, he says 42 likes. All right. That's pretty good, man. That's excellent. I appreciate everyone's contributions in the stream today, especially J.A. Aguayo, Blue True, Minister Brandon, and I think there might have been, Corey Davis and Debbie Ryan with the super chat. So I appreciate everyone who, gave me a super chat. You're going above and beyond to support Jay in the Bay. I appreciate that. And also I appreciate everyone who who was conversing in the chat room tonight. Shout out to everyone that was conversing in the chat room. This is definitely was a successful live stream. And yeah, shout out to Mose Knows, man. Make sure you guys check him out. I'm looking forward to the rest of his content. And let's see. Today is Monday night. So let's see. Thursday night, I will be having a live stream as well. And you guys will see the thumbnail for that coming pretty soon. And then Sunday morning, you know, it's an early kick, I believe. I believe the Niners-Lions game starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday. So I will be having a pregame show live stream at 8:30. Also, I'm expecting to have a Detroit Lions fan. We'll get to hear a perspective of the Detroit Lions. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's what you can expect from me during the week. Live stream on Thursday with the 49ers fan, and then Sunday pregame, postgame. And if there's any other 49er news, you know you can tune in to your boy, Jay in the Bay. And thank you for everyone again for watching, especially if you're on Jay in the Bay Facebook page and also Jay in the Bay YouTube page. And it's been great. You guys have a productive week. Stay cool. I know in Northern Cali, it's going to be hotter than fish grease the rest of the week. So you guys stay cool. Have a productive week. And I will see you guys in the next one. Go Niners. Thanks for all your support.